Hey folks, how you doing? Doing something very, very different today. Given how the stream went last night, I thought it'd be good to kind of take a session out. And I wanted to get some work done on this thing anyway. This is actually related to my stream. I'll talk a little bit more about what that is. Um, I'm going to wait around for some of the regulars, and we'll talk a little bit about. Oh, hey, Nikki. There's a regular now. How are you doing? How's your day going? Yesterday was just that game I was playing. It was I played it a little bit sight unseen, and took some time afterwards and rewatched the stream and thought about it a little bit. It was the typical kind of questions: Is this what I want to put on the stream? Because some of the stuff in it, like the stuff that's just plain rude, I don't mind at all. To me, it's just funny. The fact that they have an 8-year-old kid in the game telling people to F off and stuff is just whatever. There were some other issues with it, though. There were some things that I felt like were not represented well in the demo or the marketing for the game. And they're the sorts of things that I wouldn't want to put on the stream. So my bad for not checking it out. Um, but now that I know, yeah, I don't think I'm not going to finish out the game on the stream. So I actually played the rest of it last night, and it was okay. the The funny thing about that game was that it actually had a really, really good story, but the tone was so uneven. Definitely out of character for what I do. Yeah, I mean, it's not the first time I've played stuff that maybe had some things that were a little. What's a good word for it? Like I streamed Detroit Become Human, which is a game. If for anyone who doesn't know about it, it's a game where you play as a variety of androids in a society that's struggling with whether or not androids should have rights in this. And there's a fairly prolonged scene in a club where they're using androids as sex workers. Yeah, I'm always open for suggestions. I can't always guarantee I'll be able to play it. A lot of it depends on accessibility and stuff, but I always like suggestions. I've actually got a backlog of things I need to go through. So, Genshin Impact. Let me jot that one down here. I'll take a look at it. Get in a notepad. So yeah, tonight I thought it'd be good to just kind of talk about it. Talk about. I want to do something with that game I played last night. A little bit of an experiment. Don't know if it'll work. But then I might play the result on the stream and just kind of comment as I go. We'll see. Where's the best place to put this? We'll put it over here. And I'll call this. There we go. Similar to craft. Oh, awesome! Yeah, no, that sounds good. Yeah, it's been kind of fun to explore a little bit, slightly different style of game. Craftopia I still really like. I feel like I'm just barely scratching the surface there. I need to get in a little deeper. But playing other things that are based around the ideas of crafting and exploration and that kind of thing would be fun. So for me, the thing that got to me in the game last night, like the idea of having a scene where an 8-year-old character has to go into a. This is going to sound funny to some people, but bear with me. The idea that an 8-year-old character has to go into a sex club as part of the game. Yes, it's for hamsters. That's irrelevant. Like making the characters in the club hamsters is sort of a cheap and ineffective way to try to uh, deflect what you're really doing with it. And it's not just that scene. There are other scenes in the game where they're so uneven in the way they deal with, like early on in the game, they deal with the fact that your character is young and naive and processing a lot of really ugly facts about the world. They actually do it fairly well. I mean, it's a little heavy-handed, but they do okay. But then they deal with things like, and this is actually, so the hamster club thing is part of it. Some of the things that they have the kids say later is part of it. But then they have her find someone who's committed suicide. And suicide is one of those things that is understandably going to be a major trigger for some people. I felt really, really ill at ease watching the kid. And then what do? Immediately after the suicide is they do a really lowbrow joke. And it's not the lowbrow nature of the joke that's bad. It's that immediately juxtaposed to suicide. It just showed really poor judgment, in my opinion. While I was playing, there are a couple parts where I was like look away, look away. But I wasn't really letting myself tune into the fact that I did not like what I was seeing, because I was on the stream. I'm like, what am I just going to shut it down? It's like, well, yeah, I probably should have. When something is that, when it handles something that poorly, it's time to step away, and I should have. So, I'll be curious to look at, kind of switching gears again here, I'll be curious to look at Genshin Impact. Maybe we'll take a look at it later in the stream. We'll go start looking around at it. So part of what I'm going to do here today, I have some testing to do. Part of the reason, like, I have, where's the camera here? The TV screen around me here is when I was creating 10 Ton Noggin, I was kind of riffing on some ideas of, like, I didn't have any really solid ideas. I had my character logo, the thing that you see, we'll switch over here real quick. This thing, the little guy with the exclamation point on his forehead, where you looked at the eyes and the mouth, and it's the initials of the channel, 10 Ton Noggin. I don't know if anyone ever noticed that, but that's a thing. And the TV thing just came from, it's like, well, he looks kind of like a cartoon character. I could do an old, and then just bit by bit, I did the design of the layout, and it started looking more and more like kind of like an old TV show or something like that. And I thought, well, let's find some TV imagery. I started shopping around. It's just kind of evolved. One of the things I'd like to do is have it so that I can actually have more thematic stuff on the channel, just for fun. Whether it is memes, like just and I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to like flood the channel and make it very, very memey. But having some things that are cued based on things that happen on the stream would be, to me, it would be fun. I'd like to experiment with it. Being able to queue up videos from shows I like, and that kind of really teeny ones, so that I can skirt the copyright issue thing, I thought would also be kind of fun. So I saw someone set up, there's a blog post where they set up a voice triggered version that plays, it'll show a GIF and play a sound. I thought, well, why not video? So I've been working on that for a little bit now. I started with their code, and their code was, no offense to them, but it was awful the way it was organized. So I started over. I started from some Hello World samples, and we're looking at part of the result here. What I'm going to be doing today is just, as we chat about whatever, we can talk games, I can look at some sample games. In between, I'm going to be working on refactoring this, and I thought I'd show off the bits and pieces of what it does right now. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at that? So I'm going to pull up my browser here. Oops. I open Gmail. It immediately said, I go to close it. It's like, are you sure you want to leave? It's like, yeah, I haven't done anything yet, so yes. All right, so we have this, which is going to crash right away. You're not going to see anything at all. That's fine. We need to go in here. Oh, this is in a state where it's not going to run yet. Let me do something here real quick. We will put everything on here. You can see what I'm doing. So let's see. Status. We got odds and ends of stuff checked out. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to add everything. We're going to commit and just say work in progress, and I will fix that up like, whoop. Did I not do this? Status. Am I in the wrong folder? I'm in the wrong folder. That's why. And there we go. Add. Now we did it. Commit. Work in progress. Status. Git checkout master. Okay, so now we should be on a version that at least builds. There we go. Start it up. And you start the thing up, and it's just going to sit there and listen. This will be a little bit more interesting in a minute. I know I normally don't do techie stuff on here at all. But, you know, it's just maybe a little preview of what's going to be coming up on the channel. So then I will refresh this page, and we'll see what happens here. There we go. So as you can see, it is listening to what I'm saying and publishing that out to a simple web page I have created. Now, it's I'm speaking very, very clearly here because this is a constant problem for me. Something about my voice, the voice recognition things generally don't like my voice. Like this thing can be listening. It will pick up what my family's saying in the background. Hint, hint. Just so you guys know. And it'll put it on here. But it doesn't always like my voice, even if I'm right up here on the mic. So this is... Your voice is deep. What's that?
Your voice is really deep.
Well, it's partially that it's deep. I mean, Seth's voice is deep, but see, it just picked up you saying voice is deep in the background there.
That's weird.
Yeah. But anyway, you can see what it's doing here over and over again. It's just listening for voice input. So this is actually this is kind of the modern state of some software development. The actual voice recognition part, I have nothing to do with. Like I'm using it, but I didn't actually write it. I'm using Microsoft's Azure Cognitive Services, so their AI stuff. And within Cognitive Services, they have very specific speech APIs. So you can do both ways. You can do text to speech, and you can also do speech to text. We are using the speech to text part to listen to what I'm saying in little segments. It'll wait for me to be quiet for a minute. Then it'll send it off to send the audio off to the server. It'll analyze it, send back the result. And as you can see, like when you look at what's going on here, it actually, I don't know how much it's actually going to store up here. It will actually put punctuation in there too. There we go. So the idea here now that I have a server that will listen to what I'm saying, and I have a little web page using something called WebSockets to actually stay connected to that server, the next idea is to set up a system where instead of just sending the text over as is, the server is going to listen for key phrases. It'll listen for like keywords and that kind of thing. It'll use a lookup list. And it'll translate that into something like a more structured event. So it'll send back data to the web page, like show a video, and it'll provide the URL for the video. And the page will have some code in there that will like reveal the video, play it, and then make it disappear again when the video is done. Now all that is then going to be used in here. This is my little, I've never actually shown this. This is my control center for when I'm streaming. So I can, this is where I see what everyone's saying in chat. Let's see. You can see, you know, when I switch back and forth between different versions of what we're seeing on the screen, this is how I'm doing the transitions here. Or if I want to put up the, that's my, I can't think of what to call it. My Be Right Back page. Yeah. The intermission. So anyway, there's that. Where was I going with that? I had a reason for this. I'm slipping. Yeah. But anyway, yep. So working on getting it to where it'll actually show, it'll run videos on there. I can't remember. Why was I showing the control center? Totally spaced it. I mean, it's kind of fun to show anyway. It's, like I said, it's something I normally don't show off. So everything's mapped to hotkeys, like kind of weird multi-key combinations on the keyboard, so I can switch back and forth. Very homegrown, but I like doing that. I'm very picky. I like doing my own thing. Hence the tool I'm writing here to do my own voice recognition and stuff. So the idea here is like if I say, one of the first ones I'll do is if I say, "What is this?" It'll catch that and it'll play a clip from the show that is one of my favorite older anime. It's called Azumanga Daioh. Hands up if you've ever heard of Azumanga Daioh. But there's a clip where the character Osaka is in a dream. She's looking at this other character on the show who, for reasons, for various reasons, she has these like, what do you call them, pigtails or whatever in her hair, and she takes them off like they're like robotic, like they're these modular things, and puts them in a case and puts on these new ones. But as she's doing that, she shows Osaka this nice case that has the new hair pieces in it, and Osaka looks down and says "Nani kore," which is just Japanese for "What's this?" Like, if you know the show, it's kind of a iconic scene. There's tons of quotable stuff from that show, so those will very likely end up as clips. But anyway, yeah. So why don't we go ahead and we'll switch back to the. Let me shut down the server here. Actually, this is kind of a cool thing too. This is definitely for nerds. But if I close the page, the server will detect that the connection has been broken. And up to this point, it's worked really well. Now watch it. Now I think it's going to crash on me. That's okay. This is. I'll be honest. This is. Oh, did it do it? There we go. It switched back. This is all very, very cheesy code, right? It's. I used to be an absolute perfectionist in just about everything, and I've learned over the years. I've been programming for a very long time. I started programming when I was about 10 years old, so I'm coming up on 40 years of programming. And in that time, yeah, I am proud of that, you know. In that time, yeah, you learn that you don't shoot for perfection. You go for, it's more akin to sculpting than anything else. You do a block version of something, and you kind of reshape it, reshape it, and whittle stuff away, and add new stuff in. So this is definitely an early version. Like I was already talking about, you know, it... find my window here. I knew this would be kind of tricky for me to talk and code and everything at the same time. Let's see, we'll do a branch, because I can't remember what I called it. Get checkout. Extract services. So I'm going back and putting a little more structure in the work in progress so that I can then, as I want to do more with it, I've got a clear path forward to add stuff in, to add new features and that kind of thing. Like I may want to have it so that when I say phrases, it may just play a sound. It may just show some text on the screen. Oh, that's what I was going to do. I totally lost track of what I was doing. Back here. Okay. So within the little TV viewer here, let's put that over on the side. This is where I actually edit stuff. So I can actually put a number of things in there. Like we'll turn this on and move it up so that you can actually see it. Let me move that to there. Oh, it's still not showing. Oh, I think I moved the image. Darn it. Okay. All the stuff that should be working, but probably isn't going to right now. Partially too, because oh no, it's there. It's just faded. That's right. I have it. So we do this and turn it on. There we go. So that's the background I used to use when I was using the little animated character, right? If you've never used these kinds of tools, if you've never tried streaming on your own, this is kind of how it works. And it's amazing to me, having kind of grown up with a lot of the software, that all this stuff that does this really cool, all these little broadcast transitions and tricks, you know, I can do different kinds of wipes in and out with this. You're not going to see much there because it's the same image on both sides. Let's switch back to the startup screen there. And queuing those transitions in and out, all free software now. It's brilliant. Really, really cool. Okay, so we got that, we got that, we got that. So here's the video clips window. So this is just a web browser. And it's a web browser that if you, yeah, you can see the little red box here. It's just laid over the TV screen. And it's set up so that, we'll go ahead and put this in. This may actually play the clip, which is fine. I'll just to kind of show off what it's doing. And we'll make sure that's visible. And then we'll transition over so that you can actually see it. Because even though it looks like it's the same thing on the screen, you gotta make sure. And then again. And it waits quite a while before it shows anything. I have it. This is a pre-programmed one. It's just on a little timer loop. It's not integrated with the voice chat or anything. This is the. There we go. And that's it. So little teeny clips like that'll pop in. I think that one might. I don't know how it sounds on your end. To me, it sounds a little loud. But that's all stuff to tweak and adjust as we go. There we go. So we'll move that back there. So like I said, we're in the process of, originally this was coded using the enormous pile of code technique, where you just write and get something that works, and then you refactor it out into individual services so that they're a little easier to manage. So like this thing I'm working on here, this, what am I calling it? Oh, that's just the application itself. Someone's phone? Oh, there. Let's see. We'll have the event broadcaster. And then we have the WebSocket event broadcaster. So this thing is meant to... do I have compression on the audio? That's a really good question. I do, but I haven't tweaked it for a long time. I don't know how effective it is, or if it... Like the compression on the... Let's see if we can actually figure that out as we watch here. Let's see. So we're looking at the audio sources. Like on this one, copy filters. Filters, is that it? Compressor, we do. Yeah, right. No, I know. Same here. The trick for me is I don't have a good reference set up. Like I don't have something that's really telling me. I rely on other people telling me I can't hear that, or I go back and listen. I go back and usually watch all my streams afterwards and kind of gauge. Yeah, that was a little weird. Like turn that up, turn that down. Like this is the first time I've purposefully broadcast something that had that little video clip in there. And the release is really high too. Let's take a look at that. Back to the filters. It is super high. Let's see. The release is how long it maintains the compression after it detects, like after it needs it, right? So this is kind of like the tail on the compression. So it's going to stay compressed for a while. So when I talk, yeah. So we're using the mic. Okay. Lessons. Your attack time is 1 millisecond, release is just 60. That's probably a better thing. Like a full second here on this is maybe a little excessive. We'll go ahead and tweak that a little bit here, just for kicks, and I'll see how it goes. I've got the music in the background going, so that'll be a good kind of a reference too to see how it affects it. Yes, I'm using the sidechain. And again, so for people for whom this is sort of alien or you just never heard of this, compression is making it so that when the signal gets really loud, it doesn't just turn it down, but it also doesn't like clip it and distort it. It will take this over here to the camera. It will take this sound wave and kind of compress it so that you don't lose the lower detail as much, but you also don't get as high volume. Yeah, compression is witchcraft. It is a little bit like the tricks that they use for it. It's really a subtle art. Audio engineers who know this stuff inside and out, who know how to properly EQ and use compression properly and all that, are just wizards, you know. Side chaining is a little different. Side chaining says don't compress it unless an audio signal comes in from this other source, and then compress it. So if I'm not talking, like if I stop and there's any noise going, that music in the background's pretty quiet, so I don't think that's the best example. The signal for the game should come back up. That way, if I'm not saying anything, I'm not like having to adjust the game volume all the time. It should kind of go back up on its own, and everything should be good. When I start talking, it should compress it down again, and make it so that there's room in the signal for my voice to come in and not sound too distorted or lost in the background audio. So yeah, I know side chaining is again, the whole thing is a little tricky to get just right, but little adjustments over time. So tool beans. Let's see. And then so you'll see like pros who do this will have hardware for doing all this stuff. So you can actually, it's a lot easier to check your audio and that kind of thing, because you can like tap directly into your audio chain and hear how things are going. But I do this for free. So here we are. So we have this WebSocket event broadcaster whose job again is just to listen for when things happen and then broadcast out an event. And this is not this factoring of code out. Like I said before, the application right now, the application type does pretty much everything in the program. And that's not a great pattern to use. We want to get away from that. Separate out the speech recognition from the WebSockets piece, from the look up the, there'll be a piece too that takes the text that comes back and looks it up in a configured list so that it can just map it arbitrarily to a video source or something like that. So, but yeah, this is, like I said, we're trying something new today. This is definitely an experiment, but hopefully it's a fun one. And like I said, so Nikki, you had that game you suggested. We can look at that in just a little bit here too. So kind of fun. Let's see. All right. What are we doing? All right. So in moving things over to the WebSocket event broadcaster, which the name's a little kludgy itself, but that's what you get. That's one of the harder challenges in programming, is coming up with a good name for things. And like I noted here for myself last time, so how best to send back as JSON? Well, the trick is you literally just send it back as JSON. There's no magic in it. And you have to take the JSON and why not code this in F#? Because I don't know F#. This is my comfort zone. Why? Let me throw it back. Do you code in F# all the time? Actually, you might these days. I don't know. We haven't talked code for a long time. Let's see. Why not just do this in Scala? I mean, come on. If you're going to go to a functional language, let's get serious. Haskell, man. Okay, so we're going to need Newtonsoft, which is the ubiquitous... Actually, I was going to say we're going to use Newtonsoft, but they actually, I think, they built that into .NET Core now, didn't they? So we get the content from the source, from sourcing the event. Almost all the code you write anymore is functional Python. Really interesting. Man, we gotta have virtual coffee sometime or something. You're heading out to your dad's house. Just glad you got to see. Yeah, same here, Nikki. Hope you have a good trip. Hope you have a good visit over at your dad's, and we'll see you again. I'm hoping I get to stream again this weekend, and I'm going to be switching back to games. I will take a look at the game you suggested. I'm not actually going to play till you have a chance to see me go through it, so I'll hold off on that. But yeah, look forward to it for next time. So have a good one. Okay, so we basically, what do we have here? We have a string we get back. Probably don't actually want a string. We're going to want to turn that into something. Function, more just like procedural. Oh, not that fancy. Okay, yeah, so I've got someone on my team at work right now who is more, he's a little more hardcore, actual functional, higher order functions and what do you call them, monads and the whole thing, which I still, where I've used it and where I've had my aha moments with functional programming, it's been amazing. I've kind of described that before because we were working together back when I was learning my first real functional language. it is friggin' brilliant for what it's good at. But there's this, I heard someone joke once that one of the things about true functional programming is that you won't understand it until you do, and then once you understand it, you will instantly lose the ability to explain it to anyone else. Like there's this weird line you cross that I don't know, it's just kind of mysterious. Go figure. And I know it's not all mystery. It's actually very formal and mathematical and all that. I just not enough opportunities, not enough time in the day to do everything. I think it's more about using the right tool for the job, and is often overkill. Yeah, I think so too. I think that some of the original ideas behind object-oriented programming have been refined by time a little bit, right? Especially for infrastructure and ops-related scripts and coding. Yep. No, I could see that, definitely. Let me see. So I can't even remember what this thing gives me. What's it giving me back? Oh, it's actually giving me this interface, this iEvent thing. Okay, that's fine. So I'm not getting the string, so I actually do need to say, like, bytes. Get bytes. What is cancellation? That's probably not what I want to hand it, actually. Oh, yeah, it is. And you have no idea how paralyzing this is. Or maybe you do. Maybe you've tried to code in front of people. Like, just straight up, like, making stuff up as you go. And it's not the content. This is the event. Oh, that's a terrible name, though, so we'll call it the event. And people will love that. But it's a reserved word, and I don't like using C#'s magical use the reserved word syntax. It just looks wrong. Coding and streaming is, yeah, we're finding out. Oh, really? Oh, yeah, I saw your game. So I haven't had a chance to watch the actual recording of the stream. I missed it live. You were doing a game thing, though, right, too? So you had at least 3 things going on there. It's like coding, streaming, and doing game development. So you're just nuts, man. That's crazy. So we're going to say equals. And we want to, JSON something or other. JSON attribute, JSON comment handling. JSON converter sounds about right. No. How about JSON convert? I don't know why. This syntax never ever stays with me. I do not like how they do. That's not it. Let's go over here. Newtonsoft's pattern of doing like the just one line, just give me the friggin' JSON. I don't want to have to configure anything. So you do the Newtonsoft object to JSON. I have to. You know how many times I have to doodle this in a month? Yeah. You look at the example, and for people who, yeah, that's what I thought. It's just called JSON convert. Okay. That's weird. Nothing fancy. Convert. And maybe the problem here is that we don't have the right namespace. Oh, no, it's just not there. That's really interesting. So if we do JSON converter, I don't want to have to like inject one of those. That's awful. But I also don't want it directly in the type. So let's see, JSON converter, and then we'll take a look at that thing and say, yeah, and look at that. It doesn't even have an interface that you can use or something. IntelliSense is lying to you. It could very well be, right? But like I said, part of the confusion here is that they took at least part of Newtonsoft stuff and kind of integrated it into .NET Core, I think. I say I think because I ran into something like this before, and like let's not do serialize all the things apparently. So let's do .NET Core serialize object to JSON. But anyway, so it's like they kind of modified it. Look, this is again, most examples are like this. It's like JSON serialize or serialize. Serializer, here. So they changed the name. So we don't have, so far as I know, I've not looked up close, but I don't think we have a reference to Newtonsoft's JSON stuff, right? This is straight up just .NET Core now. Serialize, and what else do we have here? Anything else that's interesting? Yeah, we're just going to serialize to a string. Good. The value is the event. Don't make fun of my names. Let's see. JSON serialization options? Nah. Like, we're just going to go in and let it do, like, the vanilla. Let's hope that it's as simple as we want it to be. Let it convert it to a string. We take that string and turn it into some bytes. We say we're going to send the bytes over the wire, and then we send them over the wire. Why 1080 down here for the delay? I could not tell you in the least. I don't know where that number came from. Let's just say wait time. Go up here. Private constant wait time in milliseconds. Used a different name. Where'd it go? Oh, there we go. I'm like blind, so I was right by the cursor. All right, so there's that. So we have a thing. Equals, I don't know, 1,000. That's fine. We'll wait for a second. Clean up my namespaces because we like to be neat and tidy. And there's that. So the next piece is giving it this. This thing doesn't actually know where it's getting the event from. And the event is literally just something happened. It's like the most arbitrary kind of, like, something happens. This thing will take it. It's handed back using this like interface that only has a type on it. We're going to have other kinds of events, like we have a video event, which will also have a URL for the video, except we're going to put those together because I hate things spaced out. So I'll have the URL and that kind of thing in there. It should serialize that out and send it back over the WebSocket to the web page, which will then deserialize the JSON into just a JavaScript object. And then from there, do what it's going to do. But we don't even have that part ready yet. All right, so where is it getting this thing? Let me find where it is in here. Content, or sorry, the event equals, we source the event, right? We can get rid of this comment because we don't have that anymore. And the event is handed in, is that part of the constructor, or is that handed, that's handed in when we tell it to enter the loop. This is private. Up here we say wait for client, and it's at that point we tell it, here's where you're going to source your events from. Do we want to do that, or do we want to put that? So I think one of the reasons I'm doing that is that that makes it so that in the thing that's orchestrating the interaction of the services, it can decide to switch this out, or it can have different event broadcasters for different kinds of things. If I put this in the, if I take this out of the method call, for example, and put it in the type itself, then it's going to have to be injected at the time it's constructed. Then you get into these problems where your injection has to somehow be parameterized or be variable, or, and it's just, it's not worth it. So we'll leave that there. So event broadcaster, it's telling me I haven't implemented an interface. What did I miss? What did I do wrong on there? We have the event source and a cancellation token. We have the event source and a cancellation token. Func of iEvent func. Oh, that's why. The interface needs to be updated so that it has the cancellation token in there too. So let's do that. And I haven't, that's the other thing I need to do here is we're probably going to use the, this is just a loop. There's probably a while true in here somewhere. Okay, we wait for the, we only wait while the WebSocket's open. Up here, yeah, we have a like while forever do this, which is a little odd, maybe, but that's, we'll put it in a check here. Oh, I already did. What do you know? So if the cancellation token, cancellation is requested, then we jump out. Again, not really going to defend the design at this point. We're doing an incremental, like, get it apart, get it so it works one way, and then we'll do some more increments here to make it better. So we have our listener loop and all that. We got to get this thing into the application type, and before we do that, we have to fix the signature on that method so that the event source takes a cancellation token as well as the event. Right? So we good there? I think we're good. And it's still complaining. What did I do wrong now? Yeah, it looks okay. Cancellation token. Oh, jeez. That's the other thing. All right. Bit by bit by bit. Anyone else catch the what I did wrong? It's asynchronous. So we need the task if an I event. And now it's happy. Yay. All right. Oh, yay. I'll tell you, I do not, little gripe here, I am not fond of C-Sharp's .NET's asynchronous paradigm. We actually just got bit by this really hard at my day job, where really subtle abstraction leak meant that certain await operations just ignored. They didn't await. Fundamentally, you could say await, and you get back to task, and it would be like, nah. And so we ended up having all these operations that were bleeding out past the life cycle of all the other objects that were being used in the orchestration that we're dealing with. And so we're getting these issues that it's one of those things, typical asynchronous programming, very difficult to diagnose. But we've been now almost a week with none of the errors that we were seeing, so I'm confident that that's it. But it makes me not want to use it. It's one of those things where it was supposed to be this, look, it's so easy. You just put this absolutely everywhere in your code, and it just works. It doesn't. There are certain cases where if you have no ops, or if you have things that don't actually have, that because of an interface have to declare something in terms of a task, but aren't async, they're synchronous. Whenever you cross that line, you're at risk of tripping over a leak in their abstraction. That means that, better to avoid it when you can. So let me turn this thing down. There we go. Should be better. All right. Let's see. All right, so we got that done. Now, finally, we're going to have this iEvent broadcaster waving at my daughter outside the house. And the application is going to have an instance of that. Private, read-only, that thing called the event broadcaster. Common naming convention. And that will get injected into the constructor. A slightly different name. There's probably a snippet that does all this, but I don't know it. I'm too lazy to actually learn the snippet. So I end up retyping it every single time. All right, so we have the thing now. Now we need to actually use it. And the part of the problem here is that I don't want to, I'm paranoid about getting rid of this monstrosity of code. So this is the actual application run loop. So we can leave that one down there. We're going to go up here and say that our event broadcaster, we're going to wait for the client. Probably a better name for that we could come up with for that thing too. And that's okay. So we're going to wait for the client. And what do we got to give it? Come on, show me the signature. There we go. We got the event source and the cancellation token. All right. So for the cancellation token for right now, we're not going to worry about stopping it. So we're going to use the cancellation token. Done. And for the function, we are going to say we take a cancellation token, and we're not going to actually do anything. Wait, what do we have to return? We have to return an event. So we'll return. Actually, we'll throw ourselves for a loop. Like, I didn't plan for this in the other case, like getting a null response. We should probably have some null checking in there, right? And this thing's complaining because it's an asynchronous operation. And now it's telling me there's a little hint here. I don't know of all these nifty little hints. Use expression body for methods. Yeah, sure, why not? Since that's all we're doing right now, that's fine. And then we go back to our broadcaster code. And down here, like, did we get something back that we did an event that's null? What do we do? We say, okay, nothing for that loop. And go back and check, well, is it still open? Yeah? Okay. Let's see if there's something else we can do here, because, like, we've got this weight. We don't want that weight in multiple places. That would be gross. I'm going to ignore that for the moment, though. So it might check right away. That's fine. Part of this I'm going to attribute to the whole coding live thing. Like, this is the first time I've ever tried this. And there's certain problems I want to work on. They're going to be me sitting there staring numbly at the screen while I try to parse out how I want to do things. So if I run this now, I'm kind of curious to see what will happen. Okay. Not surprisingly, we get this ninject thing because we haven't actually configured ninject to recognize that service that we created. So let's go ahead and do that too. So we have our module, the 10-ton VoxBot module, which I'm going to admit I'm kind of proud of that name. Oh well. Application settings will bind our application. Nope. It's the event broadcaster, which is the problem. To our web socket event broadcaster. And everything's a singleton. We only want one of them. We good? One succeeded. Notice I'm not unit testing. That's awful. Don't do that. I do not advocate that approach. I'm in between. Like I said, this is junk pile coding. I do not normally recommend this. But because this is largely a, for a variety of reasons, the tests are going to come a little later once I have a better idea of how I want to decompose things. Okay, so it's like, yeah, it's listening for stuff, but it's never going to get anything back because we never have an event actually sourced. We just hand back nothing. All right, it built, it ran. That's progress. So I'm going to set sort of a little checkpoint there and get... I think I called the last one work in progress, which is awful. We're going to say commit. I'm so used to typing a story number here, which I don't have at this point. Let's see. We'll implemented, let's see, event broadcaster. And we'll get rebase interactive. Get the last two things. Have I set up an proper editor for this thing? If it gives me like VI or something, I'm going to be sad. Well, it's not much better. It gave me Adam, and Adam doesn't seem to know how to actually open. Oh, there we go. I'm going to squash that. Yeah, that's right. I named it wrong, but that's okay. All right, close that. And it needs me to, yeah, it needs me to close the entire editor. I gotta reset up my editor. You can tell I don't do a ton of coding on this machine. And we'll set it up so that that's my commit message. Look in the log. Not much in there. Yep, okay. Got the initial commit, and we implemented the event broadcaster, so there you go. Alright, so now what are we going to do? We're going to implement a sort of a service for a voice recognition service, right? And so one reason for what I'm doing here, this is the where is it? The event broadcaster. Notice that it doesn't depend on an interface for getting the event. The reason for this is that this ends up being a whole lot more flexible about how we want to feed information into it. This ends up being our contract, which is really, really minimal. So very, very few dependencies created between the types, which is a generally good thing. If I were instead to inject in some kind of service that had a method name that took arguments, though you kind of see, hopefully see where I'm going, where using an interface to pass in how I'm going to get the event requires more points of dependencies between the two. So I'm going to instead have, I'm still going to have a thing that's like a, we'll do the interface first. I'm going to add it as a class and then fix it. So we'll do an iEvent service. All right. And that'll be a public interface iEvent service. And we'll take it'll hand back an iEvent. Actually do a task of iEvent because we're going to make it asynchronous again. Despite the fact that I was kind of complaining about how .NET currently does asynchronous stuff, this is still kind of like you don't have a lot of other options, right? Let's make sure we have the namespace for that. So task iEvent, we're just going to say get event. There's no arguments at all. If turns out we need arguments, we'll add them in later, but for right now we're going to assume that everything in the world is simple and good and go from there. All right, so then we add in a type that implements that interface, and we'll call it the voice to text event service. So we want to call it? No, we'll call it the, we'll kind of name it after the application, the VoxBot event service. So I don't know, I'll probably rename it later, that's fine. iEvent service. All right. And so here's where we start pulling apart the actual voice recognition part from the original application, which there isn't a lot to it, thankfully. I love, man, having seen how software has evolved over the many years, the fact that you can, through just a very few types, you can set up something that uses these online talk services to do voice recognition is pretty darn cool. So there's another piece of this though that I need to be careful about. The original application did some kind of kludgy, one of the problems with the original sample that I built this from is that it didn't actually tell you which microphone you were using. So if you're set up like I am, where I've got mics on that just came with a camera, they've got built-in mics. I've got my Snowball here. There are odds and ends of things that can serve as a mic, and it would not tell you which one it was trying to use. So if it didn't work, you kind of had no idea where to look. You had no idea where to go to actually try to diagnose things. So I'm using whatever your default device is in the service. It'll just look at the service and pick up the default device, but it'll then go look that up in a list of all your devices, match them up, and say you're using this one. Down the road, I can imagine I'll probably implement a configuration, like a command line parser, and or a configuration system that lets you specify exactly which device you want to use. But again, this is just, I've said it over and over, but it's important and true, and that's that this is just a small increment towards that longer term goal, bit by bit. All right, so we have our VoxBot event service, which implements that. Get event just blows up at this point, which is fine. Let's go back to the original application class. And let's see. Down here we have our get text from voice. I'm just going to grab this whole thing for the moment, and I'm not going to think about it too much. I'm just going to take it and move it into this, and then I'll start piecing it apart from there, right? Okay. Get event. First thing, what is this? Speech config from subscription, and this is one thing I kind of planned. I'm glad I thought of this before the stream. Don't want to show my Azure keys on a live stream. So we've got that set up in a config. And you can see here I'm depending on this application settings thing. Application settings thing. So let's set that up. We have private read-only application settings. Application settings. I don't know about you. I'm one of those developers who has names that are like a million miles long. But also, I don't know if you can see this on the stream. I've got this bar over here, the don't go past this point line. So it means that I have very little code per line. But for me, both for reading it and for doing diffs and that kind of thing, it ends up being so much easier to read. Let's see. Personal preference. Application settings. We got that. So let's take that. Add a constructor. Public. Boxbot event service. Like that. Imagine we're going to need a logger too, so I may as well add that in. Yeah, I can see it called out down there. My application settings equals the application settings. No null check or anything. I mean, if your dependency injection is blowing up, you have bigger issues, so we're not going to worry about that. So private, whoops. Speaking of IntelliSense and all that, this new thing where Visual Studio will take your fumblings and add namespaces up here that you'd never asked for, that's led to some interesting mishaps. I cannot figure out how to turn that off though, so oh well. For me, logger always goes first. Read only iLogger. That's Serilog we're using, and it added the right one. That's one of the problems. You know, again, my day job code, we have a lot of different logging libraries. It never adds the right one up there. It always picks it. It clearly prefers Microsoft stuff. It's like, oh, you're using the market. No, we're not. Leave that alone. Get that out of there. Microsoft. They're, you know, a lot more tolerable than they. Oop, I actually did the right thing there. Than they used to be. They still have a. Oh, hey. Oh, no, I set it up to do YouTube also. Apparently it just... YouTube. The way you set up events, live events or whatever now is very, very kludgy with Restream. So, well, I'm sorry you missed the opening part then. But good to see you here. Hopefully it isn't, like, you know, lagging on YouTube ad too. So, how you doing? How's your day going? See, so we got a logger, we got the speech configuration, which right now does nothing. Then we have a recognizer, equals a new speech recognizer, which just takes the config. We really can, I think, just kind of take this whole thing. Like, why go through the line by line? We'll still go line by line. We're just gonna move it up there right away and just use it as we go along. So we get our recognizer. Replace the timed wait, return nothing, allow check for closed WebSocket. That would be nice, but we're not doing the WebSocket thing here anymore. It kind of sucks about YouTube though. I will look into that for next time. I did the usual setup that I do, which I would show here, but I'm a little worried that they expose keys in some of the UIs, and I don't want to show that. So let's see, return timed wait. Yeah, we don't want the loop this time. We're doing a single event. So there's one of the changes. Let's line up our... There we go. Take that out down there. Whoop. All right. Listening for voice input. This is a little, I don't know. I'll leave it there. It's fine. This is fine. And what is this thing's problem? Oh, I know. In implementing the interface, async. Get event. We're not returning the event yet, so this is going to be squiggly red angry until we do. Let's see. Recognize what it's saying. We switch on the reason. Recognize speech. Right now, we're trying to return text. That is not correct. Okay, so until we have our secondary service, this is going to get a little more interesting. So the first version right now, like I showed earlier, so this just sends text back to the web page. There's going to be a chance. Let's see. Hey, just because Twitch doesn't work too well, you got supposed YouTube. Sorry, miss. How doing? I'm good. I hope you are as well. Oh, that sucks. All right. Let me YouTube or Restream. I don't know who's more guilty here, but let me see what I can do about that. Like if I go to Restream right now, like the funny thing is it shows 3 out of 3. Like it thinks I'm broadcasting on YouTube right now. So when I go to YouTube, maybe I'll post the URL or something. And go to my channel. And we may get some audio here from... Yeah, it doesn't show up. It thinks I'm broadcasting and it's not showing up. Lame-o. We'll check one more thing here. Does it be nice to actually be able to hear stuff? Yeah, it even shows me live, but it doesn't show me live on my channel. Oh, there's partially white. Switch back to unlisted. So I just made it public. I'm telling you, man, I did not touch that. That has happened a couple times before. We'll see if it publishes out an event now. Even if not, you should be able to go to my the main YouTube page, and it should show up there. We'll see if it does. Annoying. It's there now. Let me go over to chat. So. There we go. Ugh, technology. Put that up. Okay. So what I started to say is that eventually this is going to have to do some tricky overlapping with the text. Like it'll take two of them, the last one and the current one, glue them together and send that off. But we're not going to do that here yet. We're just going to hand back. We're going to assume it's video. Like we're not going to look anything up. So we're going to say new video event. Hard code it until we get the other service written. And here, the type equals. I think I have that as a. Yeah, I have the type name heart. As a constant there. The URL. Again, this is a little funny, but I'm just going to take the result.txt, since we don't actually have a URL yet, and send that back. All I need to do at this point is get a version of this up and running again. Oh, hey, cool. Nice. Good to know. Man, I hate that Man, I really hate that Twitch is that flaky for you. I wish I could get that figured out. Oh, no worry. It's a casual stream. It's always a casual stream. It's even more casual today. So we'll see if YouTube barks at me for playing the copywritten music in the background, though. Let's see. Type equal. Okay, why is it complaining about the type? Oh, I made it read only, which means I can probably do this. I'm guessing if I go look at video event. Oh yeah, it's already set up. I forgot I did that. That's fine. That's cool. Don't make people specify things that they shouldn't change anyway. So, we'll put a little note. Not actually a URL yet. All right. When there's no match, we just say, we didn't recognize anything. And when it's canceled, we kind of log why. Now, here's the thing, actually. So this will listen, and if there is no recognized text, it's not going to hand back anything. It's just going to, like, yeah, this is complaining because it's like, yeah, you're not returning something in all cases. So I've got a choice here. I can either put a loop in here that says wait for content, like loop until you actually get some voice turned into text. Or I can have it just hand back nothing and let the external thing... Oh, you got the picture of the stream on Twitch. It's just really choppy. Go figure. Yeah, I don't know. You're not the only one who said that, though. Other folks have. So I don't know if EG is still on the stream. I think we may have. He may still be there. EG, if you're still there and you are still watching on Twitch, let me know if you see any flakiness, if you don't mind. I'm always asking you to help me every time we talk. It feels, I don't know, I'm probably imagining it, but it feels like I ask you to help me diagnose things. But it's how I roll, apparently. Anyway, so I can either have this thing go into a tight loop and try to get some content by submitting, resubmitting. I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to let it, like if this thing doesn't catch any text, it's going to return back to nothing. In fact, let's make a special event for nothing happened. Well, let's say, I wonder if I've never looked into this. Like we have iEvent. We still got a little bit of a pile of code because there's no namespaces, but that's okay. So if we want to like generate a create unit tests, snippet. No. Nothing very interesting. Okay. If I do this, go up here and say that, move to namespace, extract interface, well, that doesn't give me anything. So we'll just create a type class, call it non-event, because nothing happened. Okay, we'll say public, sealed. I wonder if I did that on the, I don't think that, wrong one, on the video event. Yeah, we'll do that here too, public, sealed class. It's a minor thing, but it's like, this is not meant to be ever inherited, so putting sealed on there just tells the runtime, don't actually check for overridden methods and that. It's not going to matter in the long run. It's just good in principle, and it's cheap. Less than a penny, so may as well do it. All right, so there we have the type, and here we're going to do like we did before. We'll have a public const string called, I call it type name on the other one. I want to be consistent. So video event, I called it type name. Let's just call it type name. Close non-event. And then this thing will return the type name, clean it up there, and we're good to go. Okay, so that means that here, we break. Where's the final return non-event? I'm going to say return non-event instance. And the reason I'll do that, this is more involved than just straight HTML. What I would say is that, and don't get me wrong, if you've not coded this kind of application before, there's so many different layers of things going on that sorting it all out as you watch is going to be kind of tricky. It's one of those things that you kind of pick up over time. But I'll comment on that a little bit as I go. So, non-event. We're going to hop over to that type. This is just meant to hold some data that we send back to the web page. That's literally all it is a box for stuff for the web page. And so we're going to say in here, we only ever want to create one of these. We don't want to create additional copies because it's never going to be any different. They're all going to be the same. So we're going to say it's public, it's static. I won't try to explain what that means right now, other than it helps us make it so there's only ever one. And we'll make it an iEvent instance equals new non-event. And then down here, we'll hide the constructor so that no one else can make one. So that now when nothing happens, like there's nothing to return back, where this is saying, I mean, in a nutshell, what this is saying is, I'm going to get an event. Now, I'm a VoxBot event service, so what I'm going to try to do is turn some voice into text. I'm going to hand that back. I'm going to hand some data in here. So, let's see. Interesting. I'm thinking ahead on the problem a little bit. There's going to be something else that's a little awkward, but we'll cope. Let's see. So we listen. We believe it or not, this bit here, this new speech recognize once async. This is like a magic, everything rolled up by Microsoft for us. So we don't have to think about it too hard. There's a lot of stuff going on under the hood that sends your voice data back to a server, which analyzes it and will send us back text if it matched to, if it recognized it as English. So we tell it, go recognize some audio. And then we get back the result. And if it recognized speech, oh, cool. Okay. We're just going to return this hard-coded event. We're going to say, go load a video. And it's going to be the wrong stuff here because we're not done yet. But if nothing happened, if there was no match or something else happened where somehow it got canceled, then we're going to hand back this thing that says, it was a non-event. Like nothing happened. So terribly sorry, but that's what you get. All right. So there's that. So then a couple things to note, like in the event broadcaster. So the event broadcaster, like you might be able to tell from its name, its job is to broadcast out an event to somewhere. And in particular, we had this one that broadcasted out to a web page. So the web page, let's see, down here, we get this, where was it? I have a null check somewhere. My eyes are not focusing on it though. Is that, if the event equals null, which some things might do, or the event is a non-event, we just say move on. Okay. All right. Now let me think about the interfaces I've made here for a minute. We have this VoxBot event service. We have an iEvent service, and I think I did part of the event service wrong. Yep. Something I forgot is that when you're doing asynchronous code, it's very often good to keep pass around cancellation tokens so that you can interrupt asynchronous operations if you need to. I'll admit, I've not dealt with that a ton because most of the time we don't use them. In this case, I'm doing it ahead of time because I'm expecting we're going to have to use this to break into asynchronous loops and that kind of thing. So it may end up not being used, and then we can take it back out, but no big. So we get event. We're going to do that. And here, oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. We want the VoxBot event service. It should say now, yeah, now it's complaining like, hey, you don't implement that interface. And it's like, you're right, I don't. Because the current method I've implemented doesn't have that. So we're going to add that in. Doesn't know the cancellation token is because of the namespace. So we add that in. And it's like, oh, that. I did that. I can do that. Okay. Better. Does it build? It builds. Probably broken, but it builds. So then we go back to our application, which has this event broadcaster. Now it's also going to have event service. Okay. And there is some like sort of modern day coding magic going on where I can just declare like, this is what my type needs. This is where I hand in everything to this type, and I can go down here and say something needs to hand in an event service. And we save it down here. This sets it aside for our class, basically. It says save it in our local variables here. Okay, so well, still, what in the heck actually calls this? What hands it in? Well, it's all kind of happening magically behind the scenes because of this. So, let me put these things up at the top because they're actually a little more fundamental. Like, yeah. Kind of break things up that way. Application settings, like that. There's the application. Okay, and here are our application services. Bind. Event service to the VoxBot event service. This is configuring it so that when it's constructing the code, it's putting everything together. This fundamentally says when someone asks for something that's an event service, give them this one. And then it just kind of magically happens behind the scenes. So down here, well, not actually there. If we go over to program, it's a very small program. We tell it to load that module that does all the configuration. We tell it to get whatever the application type is. And then we run it. And when we're all done, we flush the log so that we make sure it shows up on the screen. Build. It builds. I should be unit testing. I'm not. Okay. So we have the service in there, but it's not wired up to do anything yet. So we're not going to see anything on the screen here yet. So let's close that. Now that we have that injected into the application, what we're going to do down here, I think before we had it configured, oh boy, that's all the old code. This is the new code. Cancellation token gets handed in. We're going to say event service dot get event. We do that. There we go. This is saying the broadcaster needs to know where to get an event from. We're telling it use this thing's get event method. So this should listen for voice input and then hand it off to the broadcaster. Let's see what happens. So I don't know if it's actually listening or not. Like I said, I've not really done a lot of coding on, while I'm streaming, and so my sense of confidence in this is actually pretty low. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's actually recording anything. So anything at all. Okay, that's fine. We'll go in and event service, get event goes to the VoxBot event service, which should go here. Like, I'm going to run it and I'm just going to do a sanity check. We're going to step into the code. Interesting. So yeah, it's not even getting to that point. Okay. So here, source event, cancellation token. Well, I hit a couple of breakpoints here because again, I'm very skeptical about how I've set this up. See where we go. Move this over a little bit. Okay. Okay, so there we, yep. We get to the main application. That's good. While true. It's not canceled, so we keep going. That's good too. Use a new HTTP listener. We add the prefixes. Checking to make sure I'm not showing stuff on the screen that I really should not. Oh, that's why. I forgot about that. Let's go back and let me close out a few things here. So this thing will, it's not going to actually go to the voice event until I actually have something listening for events. Like if there's nothing listening for events, it's not going to start recognizing speech. That's good because that means that when I don't have the web page up, it's not going to be running up a bill at Microsoft sending off voice data because it's, you have a certain amount that's free, and beyond that, they start billing you for the voice to text translation. It's not a lot, but I don't want to spend anything that I don't have to. So this right now is the entire web page. It's going to choke on what it gets back from the event at this point. That's fine. That's not a big deal. Let's go ahead and take an empty browser here, and we will drop our local web page in there. And let's see, do we get an error or anything? That looks good. And then we go back to here. Hit run. Okay, I'm going to start. Since I got the first thing kind of worked out, I'm going to shut that down. Go over there, turn that off, start that up. Put that over there. Take the web page, pull that up, hit refresh. Okay, there. So it's not serializing all the contents of the type. All we're going to get back at this point is some JSON that says type video. But it is actually doing voice recognition in the background. So the question now is, why is it not serializing it? Like what it's serializing is only what's in the interface, which is kind of lame. Oh, actually, no, it's saying video, so it's recognizing text. Or it's recognizing voice clips. So why is it only giving us the... it's not giving us everything that goes in that event. Like here you can see... Okay, so this is a little better. So you can see the text that's showing up there. Oh, there. Does it recognize blah, blah, blah? It does. What's funny is you notice it's actually even adding punctuation. Like it recognizes questions and it'll put a question mark at the end and that kind of thing. So Microsoft's that Azure service for doing the voice to text is actually pretty darn cool. It's been pretty reliable. It works way better even than, say, like on my Galaxy S10, Samsung's default voice keyboard is garbage compared. Oh, it's just garbage on its own. I was going to say it's garbage compared to this, but it's just absolute trash. Very, very difficult to use. This thing, yeah, look, it even added a comma between the words very. I don't know if you can see that at the bottom there, but it's recognizing what I'm saying. I'm putting that in there. Okay, so that's good. I think what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to take just a brief intermission here. Go get a drink and kind of just clear my head a little bit, and then I'll come back. We'll set a next goal for this. That might be all I do in terms of the coding for right now, just because, again, it's new and different and not what I usually do here. It's not the norm. Might do some gaming. We'll see. Either way, I'm going to take a little break, and I will be right back, and I will see you then. Okay, we're back, and we're mashed up because I have company. And so, and we have, for all the reasons. So this will be interesting. It'll be the first mass stream too. Stream, first mass stream. Make sure my mic is on. That's good. We got the video showing. Everything looks good. Okay. Let's see. So let's figure out the serialization error. So the problem we're looking at here. Oh, I just saw your comment. The watching you in VR. Wow, the future's cool. How are you watching me in VR?
Yeah,
Is it like a YouTube feature or?
And they got feeds for me.
I feel out of the loop here, man. Oh, I almost forgot. I'll turn the Discord thing back on. There we go. I don't know if that's better or worse. Like anyone who would be in the call, I was thinking about this last night, Jamie, that you were listening to the delayed game audio and me like in real time. I gotta figure out how to do sort of an immediate stream for folks in the Discord so that like it's a much more narrow audience, maybe even lower res. But that way you're seeing something of what I'm seeing as I stream it. That would be kind of nice. So, let's see. Oh yeah, the serialization thing. So the part that turns it into a data structure and sends it back to the web page is not working right. So I give it a new video event.
Well, that was cool.
Let's see, reason no match, blah, 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 blah. And we go over to the website of Event Broadcaster. We shouldn't really care about what kind of event it gets back. It just says the event is this thing. We're going to go right here.
How I feel about the Sims, or not the Sims. Hello. Yeah, I love Animal Crossing.
Oh, I hadn't really considered that. I'm glad it isn't affecting the stream. Some of the commands I use for my build tools overlap with the commands I use for streaming. So, luckily I haven't turned my audio off or anything. Let's put that back there. There we go. Okay, so it's waiting for a client, so we gotta pull up a web page again. Let's do that. And go over and drop that thing in there. I don't think we have to show this one on screen because it's not doing anything very interesting. And we run. I've still got too many breakpoints in here. Let's turn some of those off as we find them. Listening for requests. Ah, I see it. Hadn't, so we gotta refresh the page. There we go.
Oh, okay. Well, encourage your brother to use it.
Okay. Yada yada yada, blah blah blah.
Have you seen this thing? It looks like this.
Okay. So we have a video event. So it recognized some text. Let's take a look at what's in there. So you can see, yep, the type is video. The URL is yada yada yada, blah blah blah, just like we want. We say if we didn't actually get anything back, then move along. But we did get something back, so we serialize it. And the content only has what's immediately in there. So that sucks. So what I want the serializer to do, if it, I'm about to get, I don't know, could be, oh, you got YouTube on your VR headset, and you're sitting on a virtual couch in a bamboo living room watching me on a big TV. Man, figure out how to catch a picture, because like, I want to see that. That sounds fun. Making me think I still don't have a current VR device. I have the Oculus Dev Kit, and I haven't broken that thing out in a long, long time. That sounds nice, though. That sounds really cool. All right. So, yeah, the serialization is not doing what I want it to do. It's taking the interface only and serializing that. So I've got to figure out how to tell it, no, take all the things. And so that's where we are kind of being optimistic and saying, you know what, when we serialize it, we don't need to provide any options. You're just going to be smart and do what I expect, right? No. How about new JSON serializer options? Oh, I hate this stuff. Let's see what's in there. Allow trailing commas, converters, default buffer size. Really?
And I play every day to get my little point from that, so I want that greenhouse really bad, but it's at the end. And I'm
Not
how do people
what I was hoping for at all.
but see, I don't go headlong in
Like, I want it to serialize the
successful. I just
underlying type, not the type of the that's what's going on. Subtle thing, but when you look at this, this is actually a generic type. I wonder if I do this. This is going to be weird. If I say object, is it really going to do nothing then? Probably. It's probably just going to choke on that. Okay, it's listening. We refresh the page. Page needs to also have a loop so that we don't have to... Oh, that's funny. That did it. Yeah, so I'm not properly encoding my apostrophes in that, so it's doing it for me in a really hideous way. All right, progress. Have another. All right. Baba Ganoush.
oh there we go.
Baba Ganoush. This is really weird. My son and I noticed this. You see, you have this like Baba Booey on a lot of videos lately. Like it's a thing with memes. I don't even know. It won't translate Baba. Yeah, see, it leaves out Baba and puts in Booey. I don't know. What's wrong with Baba? What does Baba sound like that it keeps censoring it? That is too funny. All right, so I think I'm actually not all that good. That's actually, we have our basic, like, we've refactored our existing, the event broadcaster and the thing that does speech recognition into their own types. They're a little creaky. They're not great. You know, there are some additional changes I'm going to want to make over time. But again, incremental progress. We do this bit by bit by bit. We just keep improving it instead of trying to get something that's perfect from the get-go. I will say this. I mean, each type is a little smaller now, a little bit more focused and easy to understand. What's interesting, too, to me, is that the entire run loop for the application is just that. You know, all this down here. In fact, we'll do this, too. This now... Let me see if I had... I don't want to get rid of the code that checked the microphone. I may have already done it. Yeah, I think I got rid of that already. Oh well. I can reinvent that. It's funny, I don't actually remember getting rid of that. Where did it go? Maybe I have that totally just somewhere else. Down to here. Goes away. Clean up our namespaces. So there you go. All the... what goes on behind the scenes is now hidden behind. In fact, we don't actually need the logger anymore, do we? Because we're not logging anything. Keep it nice and clean. Don't need any application settings. That's our application type now. The rest of the code that was, all those separate methods is all broken up into the where is it? This thing, which is still under 100 lines of code, even though it's a little sloppy. And this thing, which is probably just a little over, yeah. But again, also sloppy. Once we tighten that up a little bit, that'll be even better. Yeah, so good changes. And let's make sure that that still builds and all that. We have to think about unit tests for this too, honestly. There we go. All right. That's done. We build, it builds. We're good. So now, go to Git, status. Yeah, we extracted services. So it's git add everything, git status. We added everything. There's the application, the non-event. I'm a little paranoid about Visual Studio. It's famous for, like, you make an update to a project setting, and it's like, well, you didn't click save. It's like, yes, but I built it and everything. You think you'd save it. Commit. We'll say factored out event service and the event broadcaster. And I'm not actually connected to GitHub. I've not shared this yet. I'm just doing the Git thing locally so I can try out ideas and swap back and forth easy. So we're going to do back to master. Merge. We're just, this is terror. Like, you're not supposed to do this, right? Merge that back into master. Git branch. We'll leave it there in case I want to go back and look at it. Check out new branch, and the next thing we're going to do is the mapping service. And the mapping service is the thing that's going to take the actual event data that we get back, which is going to be whatever I said, and it's going to map that out to some kind of media. So I'll have a configuration file that says how to match what I said to some single media file. It'll hand back information about the media file instead of that hard-coded video with a URL thing. And as soon as we have that done, the service is basically like version 1 is done. Or version 0.1 really is done. And from there, it's a matter of updating the web page, this thing. No JavaScript frameworks at all. This is just, again, pile of JavaScript, which is fine for what I'm doing. It's a little teeny thing. But we'll update this so that it switches out. It'll actually have a thing down here to show video first. That's the only one I'm going to work on for right now. But it'll show the video. When it gets a video event, it will reveal the video, play it from the beginning, wait till it's done, close it, like hide it. And that'll be it. I mean, I'll have one bit of content that I can show, and we'll wire it up to the channel. I'll put it in my broadcasting setup, and we'll have something so that there'll only be a single phrase that'll work initially, but then I'll start looking for ideas for other phrases. And I'm going to experiment at first. One of the things that prevented me from doing this previously was worrying about copyright issues. But I figure if I am doing things to the video to kind of distort it so that and keeping it very, very short so that it is trying to keep it within the confines of fair use, hopefully that'll be enough. Now, if I put a clip from, say, like a big company property like SpongeBob, and let me tell you, I've already got some ideas, things that I want to use from SpongeBob. I'm a child. But anyway, yeah, so if we put that stuff in there and then I start getting copyright notices, that'll tell me right away that, like, yeah, don't focus on that. Start going and looking for more open content for the videos and stuff. So, but I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap that up there. Might be online later. I always say that. And, the odds are I'm probably not. And I'm mainly not because, I like I like my audience, and my audience is watching a little earlier in the day. And if I stream later, um, honestly, there's no one on. So, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I hope that was informative, at least a little bit. Um, Jamie, good to catch up with you, and have fun in VR land. That actually sounds really awesome. EG, always good to hear from you too. And yeah, that was kind of fun. Hope I actually enjoyed the coding thing. So if I could come up with some more, I don't know if I do it on this stream. I guess I could, but if I had some more small focused things to do in terms of like coding, whether it's educational stuff or what, like, yeah, I'd totally consider doing a coding stream. Um, Let all the opinionated developers on the internet come in and tell me all the terrible things I'm doing wrong. It'll be a blast. Anyway, so yeah, folks, take care. Good to see you again, and um, let's see, we'll do this. Hop on over here. You can actually see the setup. And so queuing up the see you later screen. You can see both the audio channels are still going here very shortly. Take care. God bless. I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. Still there.